Okay, good evening, y'all. Welcome back. This is going to be the fourth podcast, and I haven't actually decided which I'm gonna. I figured I was gonna decide by the end of. uh, what I got a little coughing dog in the background still, but he seems to be getting better though because he's been shaking his tail and eating and then playing, and now he's trying to play again too because I guess he knows I'm trying to record, so he wants the attention. But a bunch of crazy shit's happened since the 24th. Um, I had a funeral this morning, and then uh, I'm fighting this lawsuit, uh, which I could get into some detail and talk about what I was working on, but I don't feel like it. And then one of our cooks collapsed today, and then another one went to the hospital, and another one we can't find. And I just looked his name up, and he's not in the inmate. He's not in jail locally. He could be in jail, somewhere else. But for some reason, we had a pretty good thing going, a busy week, and a bunch of employees, and now we just lost like three. And a couple of the girls are basically working like doubles, like 16 hours to kind of keep the place going. So I'm bummed about all of that. And in the midst of all of that, I say in the midst of it, I need to do some stuff for my class too. I wound up I'm my class captain, so I need to let everybody know what the details are the next couple of events. But uh, okay, hey, let's do this one with let's do this one with the girl that I met. I met her. She was a girlfriend of a friend of a girl that I met on the Seeking Arrangements app. So I can't remember the fake names in here. I think I said her name was Short Laura. So Short Laura is who I met, but she wasn't that cute, but she was just funny. Yeah, I say cute. She wasn't like hot. She was just kind of like, yeah, she kind of looked like a boy. She had her head shaved on both sides, but she had like a loud mouth. Anyways, I used to like going to dinner with her, and then we wound up going to see a concert, and one of the girls that she invited, that girl invited the girl I'm talking about. And I can't remember the fake name I used. It might have been Lucy. And Lucy flew in from Boston basically a year after I met her. And that's what this story is about. So maybe I'll start it off. Then like a couple of minutes in the beginning of the audiobook chapter. Then I'll cut it and I'll come back and I'll talk about it, and I'll try to remember some stuff. And then I'll do another clip. I think last time I shortened it. I'm not going to worry about the 10 minutes anymore because it was the TikTok shit winds up like cutting it anyways, and this probably ain't the best thing to be putting on theirs anyway. So I'm just gonna let it go and maybe cover the whole bits and pieces throughout the whole chapter, regardless of the time. Well, I'll probably keep it like under 27 minutes or so. Oh, speaking of, I want to shout out to Dave Weasel. Man, I'm not too familiar with you, my man, but you're obviously very popular, very famous. You have a bunch of followers, and this dude followed me and liked. I only had 2 people like my Twitter post about being sober for 12 years. And this guy was one of them, which was hella cool. Um, let's see the dude's name, or the podcast is, because he followed mine, or he said he did. I really couldn't find where he did, and he said It's called the Valley Boys Podcast. Valley Boys Pod. Sent me a direct message on Twitter and liked my sobriety, 12 years of sobriety tweet. Hella freaking cool. So thanks, Dave. And if anybody listening to this, please go follow Dave and check out. He's got like 100 and something podcasts. It looks like he does it every week. And I want to tell him that he like followed me first, right? And then when I followed him back, I noticed they had an embed of his podcast in his Twitter profile. I was like, oh wow, that's dope. So it made me figure out how to do it for mine. So that's double thanks. Thanks for helping me figure out a technology, little hack. And then thanks for the DM and the 5-star, the rating. I appreciate you, man. Okay, so who did we say we were going to do? I think this is chapter 4. What did I do? I did 16 and then I did 5. Yeah, so let's do chapter 4. It might be 3. Man, I can't really remember it. I'm getting them all confused. It's going to be the girl, though, from Boston. And I think I called her Lucy. Then she lived in Thailand. Man, tall, like the girl from Ipanema. It was another girl that reminded me of the song "The Girl from Ipanema." So, I think I used another chapter for her. But like a tall, athletic track star, just long hair, beautiful. She was doing yoga in my house. Just like fucking sexy, smart. Maybe like a little too like pie in the sky kind of. I think she had a few aspirations that failed, but I got a bunch of bullshit aspirations that failed too. So I don't really have. It takes one to know one. I'm not criticizing it. I hope she's doing wonderfully, but I haven't heard from her, and she hasn't replied. I've sent her a couple of happy birthday emails and have not heard from her from those. So, but que sera, sera. I don't really get bent out of shape over it. But and actually, this is good timing too because she came in town in Vegas in 2017. This weekend, she left Vegas on October 1st in the morning to go back to Boston. And then shooting, the tragic shooting in the across from the Luxor happened that night. And today's the 2nd, October 2nd, 20. So yeah, wow, that's 5 years in a day. So 5 years in a day was the last time I saw this young lady. It's interesting. All right, cool. Anyways, it's right now for me. It's locally 8:50 on October 2nd. I'm gonna go ahead and take a break from this, and I'm at 8.5 minutes here. See, I talked a lot, so I'm gonna. I might even go back in there and cut some of that up and put in a chapter. But I'm gonna go ahead and start playing that about the girl from Boston. She was in the solar panel business. Thank you. Peace.
Chapter 3, Sweet Ticks. But I still remember that day we met in December. Oh baby, Lana Del Rey. I tried not to make eye contact with Lucy, and instead considered how amazing it was that she was finally laying in my bed. We talked for an hour while I waited for my eyes to dilate a few weeks ago, and now I'm staring at the freckles around her nipples. I didn't know her last name until an hour before when picking her up at McCarran Airport. I glanced at her luggage tags while putting her small bag in the back seat, extra turned on that she traveled light. I was breathing heavily and couldn't stay hard when she sighed, "That's what they all say." I rocked back, resting my heels, catching my breath and wiping the sweat out of my eyes. I was dripping wet like 2-a-day football practice at Hammond. I quit using pomade or anything in my hair years ago because those fat blue pills make me sweat like the hot yoga classes near Rainbow and Russell. I wasn't expecting her to give me such an array of they to consider and lose another erection. It was our 4th or 5th round, if counting the kitchen, after not seeing each other for 10 months, but I was fading. She asked me to wear a condom after pulling one off earlier, and there was no way I could stay hard enough. I'm not sure if she intended for me to think of all the guys I'd never met that had also been inside her with or without a condom, but I couldn't help the visuals flooding my imagination at the moment. This was after we talked about her living in Thailand for a few months during the time we hadn't seen each other. The urgent care doctor I'd seen several times mentioned the evolution of common gonorrhea to the super strength Southeast Asian gonorrhea, and I wanted to play it safe. I'm sure she'd been with guys who can get deeper than me with the condom on, but maybe not after all the blow we did that night. I miss her begging me to go deeper, which I was struggling with, and figured she understood I couldn't keep it up. My favorite was straddling her from behind, sliding in and out of her as deep as I could get, while her piss or cum or whatever splashed my inner legs. She kept soaking my sheets and I loved it, felt so damn lucky. She was a Gemini, part desirable college track star and part ghost I hadn't talked to since the previous December. My instinct was to start chewing another generic Viagra, the ones I'd been saving since returning from India, so that I could keep the next condom on and get back inside of her. Then I remembered I was mixing the blow I got from the cocktail waitress at the Rhino with Indian Niagara, and I needed to slow down. She jumped up and said, "Want a couple more lines?" and went downstairs where I left the little baggies. I followed her to splash some water on my face and roll another joint. I didn't need to remind her of our age gap because she noticed my 20-year high school reunion invite in the kitchen. The millennial Boston hippie liked chopping up lines into neat rows.
So I hadn't listened to that one in a while. I hadn't thought about that girl in a little while. But yeah, that she was surprisingly surprised. She had an engine. She liked to the blow that I got from my friend as a cocktail waitress at the Rhino, or was a cocktail waitress at the Rhino, and went through the bag very fast. This is the one who was doing yoga, and I had a big mirror in my downstairs, and I think back on this particular night, or this weekend or whatnot, and I am like one of the luckiest dudes. I don't know how she thinks about it, and that's why, like, the fact that I don't know a whole lot about what she's going on with her now, or the time before we met, I think it's perfect material for fan fiction, or for some aspiring author to take this particular story and some of the details that I give about her and just go off on a whole bunch of tangents and make the girl a superhero in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, I'm excited I'm more excited about doing that. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but if it's I feel like it would be a really cool project to undertake. And so I'm back to, I got 4,000 words from a young lady in Venezuela. I got 6,000 words from a young lady in Argentina. The young lady in Argentina is working on another 6,000 words, and the young lady in Venezuela is working on another 5,000 words. So I feel like I'd like to find some European. I'd like to find a Middle Eastern. A couple more. I'd love to find, 2 or 3 or 4 decent authors from different regions of the world that are not too expensive, because it's looking like the young lady that's doing, I can probably get 40,000 words for $400, $500, right? And she's pretty creative. It's pretty good stuff. I actually can't wait to start to do some podcasts. And I guess that'll be another season. And I don't really know how I'll fit that in. But I would love to do some podcasts about the fan fiction books that these girls. And I talked to a buddy of mine about doing. Oh man, I completely forgot about that. Man, and I don't know. I mean, I'll bring it up. So I published a book of poems, right? And then I put those poems on ACX to get an audiobook. And I don't know if I'm going to do a whole separate podcast for that, or if I just include that in this podcast, which would give it a little bit more, maybe a reason to do twice a week. But I wrote like 11 or 12 poems. I gave it a silly name that's tough for me to remember. I called it the Quarterly Current Events Explained in Irreverent Poems by F.L. House, Hauss. And it's only 99 cents. It's not very long of an ebook. I got some pretty cool voices. I may extend it as an audiobook and have the guy that I pick do a normal voice and then like a theatrical voice for each of the poems. But okay, I'm gonna chop in another couple of minutes of not necessarily where it left off. I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit later on into the story, but yeah, I'll throw in a few more, and then I'll hit you back. I'll hit you back on the other side. So thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
I was praying one would be sexy and cool before jumping out to open the back doors. I noticed how tall and athletic Lucy was compared to the others. Her skin was glowing, her smile was calming, and her aura was stunning. I completely forgot about short Laura. I don't remember where I parked, but we gravitated towards each other since walking to the stadium and sharing a few puffs from my vape pen. Since we were early, I suggested we stop at the Sake restaurant, the same one we installed some daiquiri machines in years ago. I ordered a round of drinks to kill some time, and I miss being around sexy women with a company debit card I knew was full of money. We left the restaurant and walked into the stadium on a mission to find our suite. All the tickets worked when scanned, and when the ushers realized we had suite tickets, one escorted us the rest of the way. As soon as we walked into the suite, the concert started rocking and the girls started dancing. We got there in time for a show to start, but neither Lucy nor I were into the music, so we stayed in the back near the popcorn machine and cold drinks. We had fun being out of the way, sneaking hits on the vape pen, and talking about whatever came up. We left the suite several times without drawing Laura's attention from the concert. We got some desserts, she had a beer, and we hung out while the others were singing and taking videos of each other. I could tell she was having fun with her friends, but I don't remember much about them. They saw we were hitting it off and all seemed cool with it. Like Juice WRLD, I was starstruck by young Lucy. That night could have lasted forever. One of the first times I didn't try leaving an event early. We stayed until they asked us to leave. We didn't do anything after the show, so I dropped them off and went home to jerk off. I couldn't stop thinking how she was exactly what I was looking for. Smart, East Coast, career-driven, but also liked to smoke weed and party. I probably seemed too eager and too interested, but I couldn't help it. We had lunch the following week, then she went radio silent for several months, while I tried to play it cool and pretend like I wasn't bummed out. I figure I had said something silly or acted like a fool turning her off, so I deserved it and would learn my lesson for next time. Then, 10 months later, I texted her out of the blue to say hello, that I missed her. I said that I hadn't met anyone half as interesting as her that whole year and hoped she'd been well. That Hail Mary finally got a reply. We talked on the phone for an hour while my eyes were dilated and agreed to see each other soon. 1 week later, I woke up on a Friday morning to a text from her. She was leaving the Boston airport en route to Vegas. I asked her flight number and told her I'd pick her up in about 5 hours, feeling like the luckiest MFer alive. I can't remember what my plans were after she flew back to Boston the morning of October 1st, 2017, the same day of the tragic mass shooting during the country music concert across from Mandalay Bay on the Strip. Just like we'll never know what really happened that night, I've never seen or heard from Lucy since.
Yep, that was the same day, like I said earlier. In the October 1st is a sad day. It's a big, it was a really bad day in Vegas, and and not to get too Debbie Downer on it, but there was a few things that were weird after the fact. Like some of the survivors wind up dying in weird car accidents, like outside of their, right around the corner from their house. Like I don't have any sources, but I remember reading about it at the time, and and one of the valets at Mandalay Bay was one of the guys that had gotten shot, and he was in the hospital. And that's just another whole crazy thing, because we had a bar in Mandalay Bay. So I went to Mandalay Bay every day of my life from 2009 to 2016 when we lost the lease. So, and then the T-Mobile, man, that place is rocking and rolling now with the Vegas Knights winning the championship, the Stanley Cup last year, and they're probably going to be great this year. I'm assuming they're going to be great, but I got really, really lucky that George Strait concert was empty. There was nobody there, and we had the suite all to ourselves, and that probably would never happen. There would be, not. I don't think they wouldn't book a concert that wouldn't be packed. I'd imagine it's got so much demand now. So that was a very. That's kind of what I mean. Like Vegas was so much fun. And it's only fun if you make some money. What I mean, that maybe like 15,000-20,000 a month, kind of, get to, pay some country club bills, go to Tahoe, whatever you want, go to San Diego, whatever you want. And I say, I say that like humbly, like maybe 20,000. If you made 50,000 a month, you'd have a really great time in Vegas. If you made 10,000 a month in Vegas, you might have some fun. You may not. If you like to gamble, you probably won't. You probably gamble it all away. 10,000 a month might not be enough to have a gambling addiction, a drinking addiction in Vegas these days. But when I first moved there in 2000, man, they would just throw the house at you if you put $20 in a local video poker machine at a local bar. You get a burger and fries, beers, and big beers too, like those big glass, like Steins, and they'd be freezing cold. It was one of my favorite things about moving to Vegas. And it was at the edge of town because the town was booming. And I was like, man, these guys, they do it right. But now the parts that were like new and fresh, they're saturated, they're surrounded, completely surrounded, and they're old or older, and they get worn out and beat up. And worn out and beat up in Vegas is very bland. It's very lame. Worn out in New Orleans, or beat up in New Orleans, is like we got potholes. The streets are falling apart. The buildings are falling apart. But well, speaking of, as I'm saying that, I don't know if you can hear that. There's like a marching band coming down the street. Anyways, all right, I'm gonna wrap this one up because I've put in. I think this is probably the longest one I've ever recorded. Well, maybe I'll hang out. The music might be kind of fun. What is this? 4 minutes? Yeah, it sounds like it's coming right down the street. During the weekdays in the French Quarter, sometimes they rent. A corporation or business will rent. A corporation will rent one of these bands, and that's what we got here. they may be going down another street, and they do like second lines. And sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not too cool. And this one looks like they went the other way. I was trying to get the mic close. Maybe we get some background second line music. So anyway, y'all, this has been a blast. I appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. If you get the chance, check out the audiobook. And I know I said this last time, I'm gonna up the ante now. If anybody makes a membership with Audible so that I get the bounty, I would just want to rack up as many bounties. I'll comp you $500 in daiquiris and burgers and shrimp and chicken and anything you want on Bourbon Street. I got a little place towards in the front 100 block. You guys can have anything you want. $500 for anybody that does the ACX or the Audible. If I get the bounty, I want as many bounties as I can. So anyways, thanks a lot. Peace.